When people hear that Black people don't really trust non-Black communities, the reaction is usually the same: defensiveness. Sometimes they get angry, or both. And the question isn't, is that fair? The question is, how did we get here? By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly why there's a trust gap, even if you don't agree with it. My name is Rogan. This is the This Made Me Gal podcast. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos, and I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. Let's go.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it. When he let his eyes on me.
When you're silent on injustices, when you say nothing because you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to offend your family members, or you don't want those Christmas dinners to be uncomfortable, or you don't want to lose friendships, and so you just remain silent, then you allow the people who feel these toxic thoughts or have these toxic ways or feelings towards the Black community, their voice grows louder because there's nobody to check them. I know this topic is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable, but that's what we do on this platform. We have very difficult, uncomfortable conversations, and hopefully you're open-minded enough to stick around. If you're too triggered, please feel free to leave. So trust is not given, it's earned. And for many Black communities here in America, their trust with other non-Black communities, it's not just been tested, it's been broken. So earlier in my intro, I said that we have to examine how we got here and why there is such a big distrust or mistrust amongst these communities. And a lot of it can be traced generationally. There are some seriously deep generational scars that this Black community in America are still facing. And it comes from slavery. It comes from systemic racism. It comes from Jim Crow laws. It comes from housing disparities. It comes from education disparities. It comes from their interactions with the police. And all of that plays a significant role in how the Black community views other non-Black communities. One of the things that I often hear from Black Americans is that, well, I don't hate anyone. I just don't trust everyone.
Some of the racism that I experienced were from kids who invited me to their house to spend the night. When certain things happened, I saw certain views come out. And I was like, oh.
From the white kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also helped me to understand human nature more. It's just like, yo, this dude, he doesn't really have a problem with me. He sees his racism as a way to solve a problem or something. And it's just silly. It's stupid.
Right.
But I saw, I was like, I know this guy.
Right.
Where did
that come from?
Where was that hiding? And why does he let me come spend the night at his house? And we talk about, teenagers talking about starting businesses together and stuff.
Yeah.
But then when something happens, somehow the N-word come out this dude's mouth. 9/11 happens, and you calling all them people out there saying, like.
See, I think, and this is the complexity and the nuance of it.
Yes.
Because what you are not saying is that there is no racism, either veiled or explicit or in the hearts or in the minds of certain people.
Not saying that.
Right? And there will be people in positions of authority, whether that's in government or industry or the police force, who have prejudice against people simply for the color of their skin. So I know you're not saying that doesn't exist, but this is the nuance of it where, and I don't have the answer to this, somewhere in that kid's psyche, probably as a function of his lineage.
Yes.
Holds on to these aberrant ideas that selectively manifest themselves depending on the context.
That's exactly right.
And it's stuff like this that gives credence and gives me compassion to Black people who always feel defensive around white people.
Right.
And this is why it's nuance.
Yes.
Because I can be a brother who's like, yeah, we cool. But I know if Ish pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like brothers, believers, who are like, and I'm like, bro, I don't blame you. Because based on what you just told me, it can be difficult to just have, not impossible, but difficult to just have complete unguarded trust in, I hate to say a white person, because there's that fear that will they ever turn on me?
Is there something under the surface?
Under the surface that I'm not aware of?
So yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm racist. I mean, if that means that I'm racist, then so be it. But me personally, I just severely do not trust white people. I don't trust white people more than I don't trust black people. I don't trust people in general, but I have a severe distrust of white people, even more than black people. Because there's always this little racial bias or racial hint behind it. That's exactly why, like, I would never date outside of my race, bro. After, like, I used to, I would never again, bro. No. No.
Have you ever been in a relationship, okay, where you're with somebody and they're telling you, I love you, I care about you, I want to be with you, and you find that throughout the relationship, their words are not matching up with their actions? Like, you just said that you love me, you care about me, you want to be with me, but yet you're doing these things that are giving me a completely different message, right? I talk to you about different issues, different behaviors you're engaging in that I don't like. And I ask you, please, let's don't do that. Let's stop that, because that's causing a problem in our relationship. It's causing me not to trust you. So let's stop doing that and do this instead. And you're like, oh, I feel you. I got you. I love you. I care about you. I'm not going to do that anymore. But then you still keep doing it. Saying one thing with your mouth, but you're doing something else every day with your actions, and they're not lining up. And what does that do? It causes a schism, right? It causes division. It causes a lack of trust. And so when you hear black people saying, I don't trust white people, I don't mess with white people like that, it's because there has been a schism. There has been a division, and there has been a breach of the trust. Because what a lot of white folks have done, if we just only look at the past 4 years, forget about history. That's a whole other thing. Just let's look at the past 4 years since 2020. So many self-proclaimed white allies were saying, Black Lives Matter, and yes, for equality and equity and reparations, and we're standing against racial injustice, and we're fighting against white supremacy culture and all this stuff with their mouth, right? Maybe on social media. And then what happened with their actions? Their actions weren't lining up. That's why I'm always telling you, don't talk about it, be about it. You have to make a decision to become an active part of the solution. Otherwise, you're being a passive part of the problem or an active part of the problem, right? So you can't sit back and be like and say, well, hey, I didn't do anything. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not racist. It ain't me. It's them. It's just those people. No. Doing nothing is a problem, because then you're allowing things to happen around you. So even in doing nothing, you're doing something, and that's causing a problem. And that's why black people don't trust you.
Some folks will hear those comments and think, oh, there's a group of people who are locked in their victimhood. They're incredibly paranoid. And this is not about paranoia. It's about survival. Distrust starts to form when you have repeated experiences and interactions with other people where you can be harmed, significantly harmed. You learn to not trust someone. When you see your community or members of your community being excluded or struggling while others are thriving, you start to look at things differently. Saying that someone doesn't trust the other side is not about hatred. It's not about hate. It's about knowing who to trust. It's as simple as that. When you see injustices happening over and over again, and people don't get it, they don't understand, or they pretend as if they don't understand, you start to pull away from that community. You start to pull away from those types of people. How many times have we watched the news and seen a white person assaulted or hurt, and there's like massive amounts of attention? Or a white child, for example, goes missing, and there's so much focus on it. And we see the way that black communities are treated when they lose one of their own, or their children go missing. One of the things you often hear is, had it been a white child that went missing, they would have gotten attention. Had it been a white woman who was assaulted, this would have gotten attention. We hear this all the time. So people are seeing the iniquities. They're seeing that they're being treated differently, that their causes, their plights are being handled differently from their peers. I want to say that, a lot of times white viewers will watch a video like this and they will get massively offended because they feel as if all white people are being, framed the same way.
Recently saw a video of a black woman telling a group of white women that she will never trust them and will always be suspicious without even getting to know them just because they're white.
You know what I expect of white women? Not a damn thing. Nothing. I expect nothing of you because you have never given me anything. I can't trust you.
I want to explain why I am totally okay with that and why you should also be okay with it. As a white person, I have a weapon system that was built right into my skin from the day I was born that I can use against black or brown people whenever I want. And even though I have no intention of doing that, I could. And that's what matters. Let me explain it this way. Imagine that there are two people sitting across from each other at a table, but one of them has a weapon aimed at the other. And this person keeps reassuring the other person saying, trust me. I'm not going to pull the trigger. I know every single other person that's looked like me has pulled the trigger, but I won't. I think anyone choosing to get up and walk away from that table and not take the chance is completely reasonable.
There are many white people who mean right and in heart want to do right, but there are so few. If 10,000 rattlesnakes was coming down that aisle now, and I had a door here I could shut, and in that 10,000, 1,000 meant right. 1,000 rattlesnakes didn't want to bite me. I knew they were good. Should I let all these rattlesnakes come down, hoping that 1,000 get together and form a shield? Or should I just close the door and stay safe?
Nobody owes us anything. It doesn't matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how much you try. It doesn't matter how much you learn. Consent doesn't just apply to the physical body. It applies to the mental body, the social body, the emotional body. You can do everything right, and people still get to say no.
So for my white viewers who will come across, and my white listeners who are listening to the podcast who will come across this episode and immediately feel a sense of anger or frustration or just wanting to click off a video like this, I don't think that's a mature take. I've always said, on this platform, we need to have conversations, and having conversations, it's not easy when you're talking about things like this. Who wants to keep having softball conversations? If your goal is to better society, if your goal is to understand one another better, if your goal is to really forge bonds with one another, then you have to listen to people when they're sharing their side. You have to stay put during difficult conversations. If not, what's the point?
I was just reflecting on friendships that I've had with white people over the years. And it kind of reminds me of what it was like to wait tables back when I was in college. It wasn't enough to just be a good server or do a good job. The guests, especially with me, wanted me to like them. They were really invested in how I felt about them, my opinions about them. And I never understood what that was, because I was like, I'm already in this subservient position. Why are you so invested in your status with me? Especially because it's not reciprocal. And then I recently heard a professor right here on TikTok, and they were saying that bell hooks explains that the dynamic between the mammy and the white woman who owned her is that because when you have privilege and something that is unearned and something that somatically and cognitively that you did not deserve, it's actually very uncomfortable. And so you seek the approval of the oppressed to ease that discomfort, to say, well, actually, I am technically still a good person. And I noticed that dynamic when I was waiting tables. I noticed that dynamic amongst my former white friends. Because what I learned, and that's why we're not friends anymore, is that they don't actually have the capacity to be my friend, because that would require a certain level of accountability. That would require reciprocity. It would require them to see me as equal to them, not something to raise their social credibility, to give them cool points, to make them look good, to make them look more interesting. And that's something that I have to learn and relearn all the time, is that because I'm smart and interesting and funny and I've got tattoos and piercings and all the things, it's if you're friends with me, you look cool. You look like you're an interesting person. Most of the time, they never really took the time to get to know me. Most of the time, it was emotionally, exploitative. There was a lot of trauma dumping. There wasn't like that. Those friendships didn't really pour into me. You do have to be careful. You definitely have to be careful as a person of color who is navigating friendships with especially white Americans. Like, it gets really dicey.
Oh, shameless plug, because I'm also a writer. If you're trying to start YouTube, grow your channel, or survive being a content creator without losing your mind, I've got a blog that breaks all of that down. It's about strategy, yes, but it's also about that stuff that content creators don't really like talking about. Burnout, inconsistency, algorithm anxiety, bad advice, and why half of the growth hacks that you see online are nonsense. Look, I'm not promising overnight success or secret tricks because I wasn't an overnight success and I didn't have any secret tricks. But what my blog does offer is practical, honest advice from a content creator who's actually doing this and has made a ton of mistakes along the way, so you don't have to. If you're building a channel, starting a new one, or questioning all of your life choices because of the analytics, then I've got you. And this blog's for you. So head to thisbabygal.com. The link will be on the screen and tagged down below. Read responsibly.
Let's talk about the good people aspect of it all. Because a lot of times people will say, well, I'm a good person. I support the Black community, and I would never say or do certain things to offend them. Well, thank you. It's not about you being a good person. Sure, there are a lot of good people out here. But when you're silent on injustices, when you say nothing because you don't want to rock the boat, or you don't want to offend your family members, or you don't want those Christmas dinners to be uncomfortable, or you don't want to lose friendships, and so you just remain silent, then you allow the people who feel these toxic thoughts or have these toxic ways or feelings towards the Black community, their voice grows louder because there's nobody to check them. There's nobody in their space correcting them. So they just go unchecked. It's always amazing to me on my platform. I remember a year or so ago, maybe 2 years, I would sit on my platform and criticize the Black community when I felt it was doing wrong, which I still stand by to this day. And I would have a lot of white and non-Black, and I have to say that because, there are Asians as well, they're Middle Easterners, come into the comment section and they say, "Atta girl, it's so good to see other Black people holding Black people to account." Well, when I ask for the same, and I say, "Hey, dear white people, like hold your own people accountable," or "Dear Asian people, hold your own people accountable," when they're saying these things and doing crazy things, it's always a problem. Why is that? Why? Why is it so hard to just speak up and speak out? Some folks will say it's hard. That's so difficult because I don't want to feel the backlash. Well, you think it's easy for me to sit on my platform or other Black content creators to sit on their platform and do the same? And I'm talking about the ones who are well-intentioned. I'm not talking about the ones who like to rage bait, because that's out there too. I'm talking about people who truly, honestly want to better society and really want to help and not just rage bait, who want to help their community. You think that's easy for them? Someone like me? You all who've been watching my channel know how many times I've been called like the most horrendous things by my own people. And then I get it too from the other side, from non-Black people. It's not easy, but the question is it right? And surely if I could sit on my little platform and say my grouping, my community is wrong in this area, and you can accept that, then you should be able to do the same in your own community. It's just a question. I think when Black people say, I don't trust other communities, and sometimes there's other Black communities that they don't trust too. African American communities don't trust other, like Caribbean Black communities or African communities that are Black. They don't trust a lot of people because they feel like they've been left standing by themselves, having to defend themselves. And I totally understand that. You know, the longer I live in the United States, the more I interact with people. And for the record, I don't just talk to people who agree with me. As a matter of fact, I'm surrounded, literally surrounded on a daily basis by people who don't think like I think, who don't have the same background that I have. And I wouldn't change that for the world, because that's what opens my mind up to a lot of things. Talking to African Americans on a daily basis and getting their take about, you know, the current state of affairs politically in this country and socially and culturally, I understand a lot. And I think people who just automatically get defensive rather than just getting quiet and getting still and trying to understand the other side are doing themselves and the community at large a huge disservice, because you have to listen to people when they're expressing themselves, and it goes both ways. I decided to do this video. I'm not asking for anybody to feel guilty about anything. I don't want you to feel guilty. This isn't about making anyone feel guilty. It's about allowing people to understand a different side. And that's why I've included some of the statements from interviews inside of this episode, because I want you to hear it from their own mouths, you know, get their own perspective about why there's such a great distrust between Black communities and non-Black communities. Some, I should say, some in the Black community and some in the non-Black community. I think we have to look at the historical roots of everything, because there's always a genesis. There's always a nexus, right? I've always said that on this platform. But I think what we have to acknowledge is that trust comes through consistency. When you show that you are a reliable partner, a community partner, you will show up consistently. And I'm not talking about endorsing wrongdoing. I would never expect a community partner to endorse something that I'm doing wrong. But if you know in your heart of hearts that an injustice is happening, and you can personalize it to yourself, right? So you know, if that happened to my family, what happened over there, how I would feel and how I'd react, then you have to understand why people are reacting the way that they are. So you show up as a community partner for them without them even having to ask. You stand by their side. That's one of the very first things you can do in a way, as a way of showing like support. And it also has to be a great deal of repetition. So what do I mean? Let's just say a young Black man is unarmed and for some reason he is gunned down by police. And you know that the police did everything wrong in that instance, right? Everything he did wrong. It's good for you to show up. It's cool for you to show up and protest and try to get to the bottom of that incident and try to help the Black community in that way, because that's such a big way that draws out a lot of media and cameras and that sort of thing. But when I say repetition, it means even in the smaller moments, it might not be something that, sparks national headlines, but even in the smaller moments where it affects a Black community, you stand shoulder to shoulder with them, and you do it over and over again, and vice versa as well. You do it over and over again till you become, in their eyes, a reliable partner where they feel they can trust you. But if you only come out for the big moments, and I've seen this said too, like with reference to the George Floyd protests, there are a lot of non-Blacks who said, "Oh, we stood shoulder to shoulder with you during George Floyd." And this is true. I mean, you saw protests all across America and even internationally. I remember seeing protests happening in Europe, particularly in the UK. And that is absolutely true. But there have been many other incidents and instances after that. And have you shown up? So it cannot just be a one-off thing. It has to be repeated. I want this episode to be helpful. Sure, I want to share my opinions. At the end, I'm going to invite your opinions. So I want us all to just talk, right? But I also want there to be a conversation about what understanding looks like if you're trying to understand the Black community more. And what understanding looks like is, number one, actually listening to what someone says without centering yourself. And what do I mean? We all have a tendency, I do it as well, even in like personal relationships, right? Your spouse could be saying how they feel, and you just taking it on yourself and saying, "Oh, this is about me." "Oh, you're saying this is an indictment on me." No, you have to defocus yourself Don't center yourself, and just actually listen to what the person is saying. Listen to understand. So when Black people say, hey, I feel targeted, don't say, oh, they feel targeted by me, a white person. That may be so that they feel targeted by a police officer or by politics or whatever. Take yourself away from it and just kind of hear what that person is saying. Listen to understand and not to respond. So that's the first thing. Second of all, listening and understanding what the person is saying doesn't require you to endorse it. I listen to people every single day, give them my full attention, 100%. And I truly make an effort to understand where they're coming from. And I'm the type of person, I like to find common ground with people more than anything. I don't like to just be debating people just to debate and just to who's smarter than whom. And no, I like common ground. But I understand that there are some things that you just won't find common ground on. And so listening to someone and trying your hardest to understand where they're coming from doesn't mean that you have to endorse anything that they're saying. But if you're not listening, you're like plugging your ears, you're like, I don't care what you're saying. I don't care to hear from you. Then what are we doing? How is that going to better society? How is that going to better the community? How is that going to better relations between the two groups or the three or the four groups? How? And thirdly, you don't have to agree. You just have to be honest. Both ways. You could be honest about how you feel about the Black community, and the Black community should be honest about how it feels about your community. Honesty. I always say one of the biggest flaws and reasons why people don't get along, I feel personally, is they're not in each other's space. I said this on a video. I don't even remember which episode that was. That was like probably 3 years ago. I said, we're just not in each other's space. I have a wide variety of friends, different races, different religious backgrounds, different sexual backgrounds. It's like a United Nations up in my friend group. And I love hearing their different perspectives, whether I agree with them or not, but I'm always trying to come to them from a place of understanding, trying to find some common ground because I love them. But a lot of people, we're not in the same space. We're in these homogenous spaces where everybody looks the same and they have the same background, and that allows our own stereotypes and our own feelings about certain groups to fester because we just don't have any other frame of reference. So let me ask my question. This is my question of the day. Who benefits when we don't have these types of conversations? Who is the beneficiary when we decide as a Black community, a white community, Asian community, Hispanic community, Middle Eastern community, Samoan community, when we don't talk to each other about these issues? Who's benefiting? And this is the second part. You choose which one you choose to respond to. And this one's for the Black community to answer. What is your biggest distrust about non-Black communities? What is, if you had to narrow it down, I don't want to just say one. You can give me two, you can give me three. Let's just say 1 to 3. One, if you had to do a bullet point paragraph, just 3 things of why you don't trust other communities, please share them. Maybe that's an easier one for some people. Share them. And let's talk about that. Because I'm going off of my experience. I'm going off of things that people have said over the years. And I talk to a lot of people. Oh, I stay talking to people. You know, and I hear so many things. But I want to hear what you all have to say. And I'm going to ask for some courtesy in the comment section and not any chaos. Because I don't like it. Number one. Number two, I don't want my platform to be a chaotic one. I want it to be one where we have conversations. And I know that's foreign to a lot of people. So if you have made it this far and you're super triggered and you, as people tend to do, just want to just get off the chat, that's fine. You can leave and you don't have to weigh in. That's perfectly fine. Actually, I prefer it that way rather than for someone to get nasty, because I really just do want to hear people's conversation in the comments section. I don't want the chaos. So drop your comments down below. and let me know what you think about all of this. Please follow me on social media platforms, on Instagram, TikTok. On Instagram, it's this at this payment gal. At this payment gal. On TikTok, it's at this payment gal TBG. You can follow my blog, thispaymentgal.com. And of course, if you like this video, please like this video. Hit the thumbs up button. It would be great if I could get like 5,000 likes on this episode. And drop a comment down below and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next episode. And thank you for bearing with me. I have a horrible cold I'm trying to get past, and it's very difficult with this wicked weather in DC right now. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.